There we go. Okay, so thank you again, Mr. Ingo, for doing this. I'd like to, after following your career path from the brewery to the Business Service Center, it's clear that you've had a view of ABInBev's business that others have not. Could you tell me a little bit more about your career path?
Mm-hmm. Where to start?
Yes.
After high school or within ABI?
I saw from ABI, excuse me, from packing, from specifically the packing management, all the way up through today.
Yeah. So first I was technical trainee, then I moved to the brewing manager position first. Then I moved to another brewery. So first that was Wernigerode, then I went to Hanover to the Gilde brewery as a packaging manager. Then I became the brewery manager in Hanover, and after that I became the brewery manager in Bremen. And after that one I started here as BSC center lead and macro process lead logistics for Western Europe, which at that time was domestic and export out of Europe. And then after 2 years I switched a bit the role, so still center lead, but then I was only macro process lead for the export business, knowing that with Project Connect we will extend the scope big time to Mexico and North America.
Yes, very good. Interesting. I'd like to also ask you to elaborate on maybe some of the projects you've been involved in the past. Maybe what was your favorite, or if I might, the least favorite that you've had?
Yeah, in the brewery it was mainly technical projects, so extension of fermentation area, a new brewing line, a new filtration line, was also contributing to a complete new packaging line in Hanover, and many more smaller and bigger projects in all the different breweries. So that's really technical projects, and here in the BSC it's more about projects like ERP implementation, for example for the UK I did here in the BSC, TMS implementation mainly for all the Western European countries I was doing, and then Project Connect also for Europe, Mexico, North America. And yeah, projects are all different. So it's very hard to say that you have a favorite one. For sure the ones who are running very well are the favorite ones. So I think overall TMS implementation UK was very successful. Connect implementation Europe was very good, very smooth. But in terms of learning, for sure, the ones which are more complicated, you will learn more out of that one. So then TMS Europe, Germany was a tough one for sure. Mexico Connect is a very tough one. ERP UK was also a tough one.
Very good. Thank you. That answers my next question. What would you say the hardest things about conducting projects in large organizations such as ABInBev are?
The hardest things. Yeah, for sure. The bigger the scope is, the more complex it is. And therefore you also need a bigger team with more specialists, which makes it more difficult to coordinate all the different streams. It's quite easy to have 1 or 2 streams and you coordinate, but if you have 5, 6 different streams, a finance stream, a tax stream, logistics stream, a general supply stream, front office stream, whatever, then it's getting very difficult, because they all have different timelines, different needs. You need the specialists in the different areas, but you also need specialists who are good in communication skills, because it makes no sense you have a super specialist but he's not able to express where is the issue, where is the problem, and what you have to do to fix it. So you need a combination of both.
Good.
So therefore Connect, I think, is the toughest one so far, because you have first of all a lot of different streams. Then you have to work with different zones, which also means different culture of people in the different zones. You have also the issue on interfaces between the systems of different zones, what you normally don't have. Different legislation, different taxation, different language, different time zone. So there are a lot of things which making this project very, very tricky and difficult.
What tools and techniques would you like to use the most? What tools would you like to see developed at your business, for example, in the future?
On project management tools, to be honest, it's better to have maybe a session with the Lemons from Connect.
Sure.
And also with Jort van der Kammen, because Jort van der Kammen is really a specialist on BSC projects, and he was also in the whole transition, Budapest, Prague, and so on.
Great.
Because I'm not working with these tools. Can tell you in the brewery we are working with MS Projects, for example, to define the milestones and the timelines, because there's a different complexity. If you build a packaging line, you need to have construction work. So when is the floor ready? When is ventilation ready? When is the supply of utilities ready? Aeration, lighting.
It's about the flow
of these kind of stuff. In parallel, for sure, you have to maybe demolish an old stuff. You have to bring in the machinery. You have to build up the machinery. Then you have some suppliers to have this supply stream on the materials adjusted to the packaging machines and so on and so on. So there you have different complexity.
Right.
Then you have here in the BSC, but even in the BSC you have a lot of things to have to go in parallel, especially user acceptance tests, simulation testing. You really have to make sure if you have a delay in order taking, then your transport documentation team at the end can't work, because you really have to go through the flow. Order taking, transport planning, documentation, and then the finance guys.
So you would say like the parallel things that have to be done are really...
it's key to have a good planning, and you have to make sure that you have not delays in one thing, which is then in a direct relation to others. So you really have to make sure what is running in parallel, what can't run in parallel, and then you have to make sure that you're really hitting the timelines, because if you have a delay of 1 week in order taking and 1 week in transport planning and 1 week in documentation, the finance guys have at the end no chance to test anymore, and then you have to go live without testing.
Very difficult, yes. Great, thank you so much, and that was very informational. Can you offer any recommendations to those taking on projects in the future at InBev, for example, or at a large company like InBev?
Yeah, the biggest thing is always to see what went well and what went wrong, and then the learning. And this is for sure very tricky, because we have so many different projects in parallel. Who is this central part in planning and projects who can really absorb all the recommendations and improve the process? So we are running now supply transformation, financial transformation, people transformation, Connect, ERP Spain, and most probably 50 other big projects. But there we have still a gap that all the projects are at the end consolidated in one group of people to say this went well, this went wrong, and out of the what went wrong we have to change, and what went well we have to keep. This is missing in the moment, because we have plenty of different project teams, but not a centralized project team.
Interesting. Centralization. So, wow, that's great to know. Thank you for that. Just as one follow-up, how would you say that your training, you mentioned you started as a trainee. How would you say that really propelled your career as far as becoming a trainee to start?
Not a lot, because my trainee program was planned to have 2 years in different departments.